So I just saw the most boringest movie ever. It's Dark Waters, or as I like to call it, Oscar bait.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains.
Hi, Grammars.
The main reason I wanted to go see this movie, Dark Waters, was because of the trailer. The trailer from this movie is a comedic masterpiece.
How many did you lose?
190.
190 cows.
You tell me nothing's wrong here.
190 cows? I mean, you could literally use that line for anything. Oh, how many chicken wings did you get? 190. 190 chicken wings? You tell me there ain't something wrong. I mean, this trailer is chock full of just brilliant comedic moments, brilliant comedic timing. Another great line is,
What if you drank it? Drank it? It's like saying, what if I swallowed a tire?
what if I swallowed a tire? I mean, it is great. If you haven't seen this trailer, go watch this trailer because it is actually better than the movie. I could watch this trailer for 2 hours and probably get more entertainment out of it than the movie. And even though I love this trailer and it's gotten so much comedic mileage for me, I went to see the movie because of it, and most of the funny things in the trailer are just not funny in the movie because they're playing it straight. The movie it knows what it is, and it's a serious movie, so all the funny things in the trailer aren't funny in the movie because it's edited like a real movie, which sounds like a negative, even though it's trying to be a movie, and it is a movie. But for me, it was a negative because it wasn't funny. But I don't take anything away from the movie for that. It's just a personal thing that I wish was still in the movie.
190 cows.
But this movie has three major problems. One is the pacing. Two is the structure. And three is the obviousness in the movie, if that's a word. That is one of them. So let's start with that. Let's start with how obvious this movie is. There isn't a bone in this movie's body that has nuance to it. Everything in this movie is either spelled out or they hold your hand and reveal to the audience in a way that is so obvious and so predictable that it becomes grating. This movie, again, is over 2 hours, but every twist and turn that it takes, it tells you before it takes it. The first scene of the movie literally shows people spraying chemicals into a little pond, as if we didn't know that that was the whole point of the movie. It just tells you that's the point of the movie, and it just shows that this is actually what they're doing. And then there's another hilarious moment that I laughed a lot at, that no one else in the theater laughed. When Mark Ruffalo is doing his reporting or investigating, he comes across this thing called PFOA, and he doesn't know what it means. And a guy comes in and he asks him, what does this mean? And he tries to call the owner of DuPont, this big company that he is suing in the hopes of helping this farmer out who's lost a lot of his cows. And he tries to call him and he doesn't answer and doesn't answer. And in that scene, he is handed an invitation to a dinner party hosted by a chemistry company. So what's he gonna do there? Oh, he's gonna confront the CEO of DuPont, who hasn't been receiving his calls, which we just found out about. And he's gonna ask about this PFOA, which we just found out about. And that's the whole movie, is stuff like this. You find out something, and then it immediately tries to pay it off.
190 cows.
But that isn't the worst thing in this movie. It's probably the most annoying when you can see something coming a mile away, or when you learn about something and then immediately figure out what it is. That's annoying. But the worst part of this movie is the pacing. It is embarrassing how poorly paced this movie is. It feels like this movie was way longer and then it was cut down to this 2-hour runtime, and yet still it doesn't feel compact enough. This movie is way too long, and there are so many scenes that don't really do anything. There's one scene where he's sitting in church with his family, and that's the scene. He's just at church for the scene, and that is it. So why have it? And there's a lot of scenes like that, where he's just in his office, and then he walks out. Oh, he's in a meeting, and then he leaves. Oh, he's getting in his car, and he's walking into the building. There's so many scenes that you could just cut completely out, and that would help the pacing of the movie a lot.
190 cows.
What if I swallowed a tire?
But that leads me to my final point. The last thing that I really disliked about this movie, and that's the structure. Because again, the movie starts okay. Like you have the setup where he goes to this farmer and the farmer says, I've lost all these cattle and I don't know what's going on, and there's a landfill over there from this chemical company, and Mark Ruffalo says, okay, I'll look into it. Setup, boom. And then rising action, second act stuff. He figures out that the chemical company might be hiding a toxic chemical that no one knows about. That's the rising action. And the climax would be suing them, and then either winning or losing, and then you can do the stupid little epilogue with all the little title cards, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened, and that would be a movie, 90 minutes, boom, easy, done. But instead, you have Act 1 and Act 2 with the rising conflict, you find out about that stuff, and then the movie just keeps going. The third act is like an hour long, I can't believe it. The third act is just like a bunch of title cards of different years after the settlement to this farmer happens, and it just shows like little clip shows, like highlights of that year for no reason. Why? It's not progressing the story at all. Nothing's happening. You're just showing, oh, it's another year wasted, another year gone. Oh, he took another pay cut because he's abandoning his family, which is another thing. This movie has a lot of things that it seems to want to do, like it wants to tackle how long the justice system takes and comment on that, and it wants to comment on how this lawyer kind of abandoned his family and his family's left out to dry while he's doing this thing, but it doesn't develop them at all, or not nearly enough to be interesting, and that's because the structure is just all over the place. Again, you've got two pretty clear, distinct acts, and then just like a toddler coming in and like drawing all over the place, and that's the rest of the movie.
And what if I swallowed a tire?
Isn't that right? Isn't that right? Isn't that right?
Yes.
If you want to make it about that character, make it about the character, but it doesn't. It makes it about the story, which then it just completely goes off the rails. So, don't see this movie. I would not recommend it. It seems like it wants to be a documentary, because there's literally people that are involved in this, like real people in the movie, and then there's just actors around them. It's the most bizarre thing. It's like it wants to be a documentary so bad. It chronicles every little bit of this case, like year by year, like a documentary would, but then it just like dramatizes some things and props actors up. And I don't understand it. I probably give it a 5. If there's a documentary about this, I'd say I would definitely want to watch it, because this is a very interesting court case that's going on. It's important to public health. It's a very interesting story, but it is told so poorly, and it makes no sense the way they've done it. So I would not recommend going and spending money to sit down for over 2 hours for a movie that doesn't know what it wants to be. So that's that. Watch that trailer though, that is really funny.
And what if I swallowed a tire?
190 cows.
Isn't that right? Isn't that right? Isn't that right?
Yes.
We protect us. We do.